Hello everyone, Ben Emerson here, head professional at San Martin's Golf Club and Golf Monthly Top 50 coach. Today I'm going to give you some of my top drills. I'm going to give you 10 consistency drills to help you tee to green, hit it further, hole some more putts and enjoy your golf more. So let's get started. So when we're looking at takeaway, one of the things that people get wrong so early doors in the swing is this initial takeaway point, that initial first kind of 4 foot of travel from the club. And unfortunately, it sends the club on the wrong path and actually really hurts the entire swing. If you get it wrong in the first kind of point, you are unfortunately going to have to make some compensations to actually get a good strike on the ball. So one of the things that I love to kind of do is get this understanding that what the club head has got to do in this first initial 4 foot of kind of travel. Now, along the way, people have been told that they need to take this feeling of almost like a one-piece kind of takeaway where everything kind of comes together. Unfortunately, the problems we see with that is the club gets really on the inside here, and actually we get this kind of, I've got nowhere to go, so I either got to lift my arms up or I'm going to take it straight over the top and get some really weak shots and ball strikes because of it. What I want to kind of give you this understanding is this club has got to travel the furthest. So at the initial point is if I had an imaginary kind of line, or I've got an alignment stick here, I like to think of this straight down my tailbone as a bit of glass. And the idea is the club head is going to move first and it's going to miss this glass. It's not going to smash in and break the glass. We are going to get a nice wrist hinge. We're going to take it up and over, and that's going to set our takeaway in a nice position. Now, if you want a good little checkpoint, actually, if you were to take the club to parallel with the ground, which is here, I want to just check a couple of things. First of all, is my right forearm looking down on my left? So not the opposite. If you can imagine, if I've whipped it in, smashed this glass, this forearm now, my right forearm is now under and the club face is now massively open. I want to actually see, is that right forearm looking down on the left? And is the club head now matching my spine? If it's doing this, I know that I'm on a really good, I've set myself up on a really good start to the swing, and I can then just simply go up, come down, and enjoy some good shots. So here's a really nice drill to get you to fix your over-the-top golf swing. Unfortunately, in the coaching bay and on the golf course, we see the over-the-top move just so much in golf, and it produces just some horrendous golf shots. What I want you to really understand is how sequencing works. So when I mean by sequencing, which parts of the body move first at the very top of the backswing. So as we finish this backswing, as my hands get to the very top, what the best players in the world all do is they actually start the swing with their lower body. These are our strongest muscles that we've got, and they make sure they fire first. So the move looks like this. You get to the very top, you actually get this firing sequence of lower body, then upper body, lead arm, and then club. Unfortunately, when we see the higher handicappers, something very different happens, and the upper body gets so dominant, it's the first thing to fire. You get it's firing this way, it's coming over the top, and then you're really trying to correct it in the downswing. So what I want you to try and do is a little pause at the top drill, where very simply you take the club to the top, and I want you to try and feel like you're going to stop there for just a fraction of a second, let gravity take over, and then you're going to have time to get the lower body firing. So it always goes a little bit like this. Take it to the top, just do a couple of rehearsals where you let it drop, and then turn the lower body through. If I do one more just before I hit, nice rehearsal to the top, let it drop, lower body through, and then try and hit a shot. Give that a go, and I really hope that it fixes your over the top swing. So one of the questions that we get asked quite a lot is, how do you hit a 3-wood off a tee. Now, for me, one of the biggest problems that I find with people when they're set up like this is, unfortunately, the tee is far too high to start with, and they try and mimic what they do with the driver. So you end up getting this kind of move where you actually get your weight too far onto your back foot. You try and get a nice big sweeping kind of swing, but unfortunately what happens is the weight stays on the back foot far too much, and you end up trying to hit up on it too much, your spine angle changes, and just so many problems happen with this. What I want you to try and do is actually understand that you don't need to tee it up high to do this. I want you to feel like you're really trying to hit it off more of a perfect lie. So tee the ball down slightly, give yourself a nice perfect lie to start with, because now I want you to really try and feel that we are not trying to hit up onto it like we are with a driver. There is a nice kind of descending blow to the back of the ball to get a 3-wood to go up into the air. So if I take a set up here and take a shot, I want to make sure that the ball position is not like it is with a driver. So it's not on our left heel, it's 2 golf balls in. So, and I feel my weight is a lot more 50-50. For some people, they can really benefit having more of the weight on their front foot to start with. But far more important than that, if you are going to go onto your back foot, you have got to get your weight off. You've got to get energy going towards the target. So I want you to really focus on the finish to the pose, and actually feel like you're going to hold a little bit of balance right at the end. So let's have a go. Give that a go, and I really hope it helps you 3-woods off the tee. So if you're one of those golfers that really struggles with releasing the club, actually how you strike the ball when you're doing these kind of short chip shots, I've got a great little drill to give you the understanding of how the club passes the body. Now, what we see 2 types of poor release patterns when we're talking about these kind of short shots. The first one is we've been told at some point that we don't want to use too much wrist. So what we tend to do is get very wooden, very kind of stiff with our whole upper body and our arms, and we actually try and then hold the club off. This is what we call a block release. The opposite can happen when we get too kind of wristy, and actually we get this kind of what we call this open sort of early kind of release pattern here, where we actually return the club at the wrong way. So the drill looks like this. What I want you to do is take your left hand off and just place it onto your lead thigh. And I just want you to grip the club as you would normally with your trail arm. And I want you to feel like it's really nice and soft. And you're just going to practice making some swings where the club comes up, going to let it just naturally drop, let gravity do its thing, and actually just get used to brushing the ground. You can see the club is now releasing past my body, it's exposing the bounce. If I do it on the ball just as a practice, it's here, let it drop, and let it naturally kind of release. If I then take another normal shot, put my hands back on, a nice way to just transition from this is then just with your lead arm, just try and do exactly the same thing, but let's just grip this nice and lightly to start with. Just do a couple of practice swings, let the club drop, let it go past your body, and then let's just try and do one onto the ball. That's a great way to give you the understanding of how the club releases past your body, stops you thinning it, stops you hitting all those terrible shots, and start enjoying some good chips. So one of the questions that we get asked quite a lot is, how do you compress an iron? Now, this is a really interesting one, because for me, when I see a lot of players working on their swing, most of the time they're working on either the backswing at different kind of positions or this kind of downswing move. The only thing the ball really understands is impact. So for me, it's one of the first areas that I ever go to with a player, of just to give them the real understanding of what impact looks like. Because unfortunately, we have been told a bit of a lie in how we've been told to set up. If you think of a normal kind of setup position with the ball position in the middle, most people have their hips very level and they have their hands pointing straight up. But impact doesn't look like that. Actually, when we come to impact, some of the best players in the world, they do something very different. Their hips have cleared, their chest is cleared, and their hands are just in front of the golf ball. Now, if you think about it, when we're trying to get the ball to go high, for most people when they're starting, that takes a lot of sort of thought process to get that kind of move, because it doesn't make much sense to try and hit down on something for the ball to go up. So what they end up doing is they go onto their back foot and they really try and scoop this ball into the air. It gets the opposite effect of this nice compressed look that we are looking for. Unfortunately, what happens is twofold. You lose so much distance because of it, because the club is now not in this position like it's been built for. It's either back how it started or it's been de-lofted completely to this. So you get a lot of distance, strikes can be all over the place. So one of the nice drills that I like to do is actually do a drill where we actually start at impact and work back. So what I want you to do is take your normal setup position and I want you to push your hands forward. I want you to rotate your hips just about a couple of feet in front of the ball and do the same thing with your chest. I want you to do some really slow kind of awareness swings where you just take the club back and try and return back to that position. Do this rehearsal a couple of times and just get so used to feeling what impact looks like. So hopefully we put that all together and we get some nice compressed shots. I really hope that helps. So one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot is how fast or slow should I swing a golf club to get the most out of my swing? Now this is a really difficult question to answer because unfortunately not everyone swings at the same speed. So it's very important that I don't just say you need to swing it at 5 if we had a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the fastest, because that would be wrong, because not everyone plays their best golf at 5. So what I like to try and do is, I've got a 3-ball set up, this is just a nice little drill to try and find your own tempo. So the idea is I want you to think of the first ball as we're going to swing this as slow as we can. This is what we call awareness speed swings. So kind of as slow as I can the whole way back and through, just to give myself a guide of what slow is. So if I just hit one and I'm thinking this is only going to go kind of 20 yards, just really slow, back and through, and I just about carry the water, just to give myself a gauge. Now I want the second ball to be as fast as I can. So this is 10 on the scale. So literally like blink and you miss it type swings, but I really want you to hit one. I need you to feel what the fastest one feels like. So if I was to set up, and let's try and crack one down there. That was far too fast for me, but now all of a sudden I can actually, I've felt what slow is and I felt what fast is. Now I want to try and find something that I can settle with that feels natural, right? So I'm going to try, I actually quite like to have a fastest sort of swing, so I'm aiming for the sort of 6 and 7 mark, and let's see if I can just find one with a nice kind of tempo, back and through. And that surprisingly was quite a nice shot, but the way I did that was I experienced both ends of the spectrum, really slow, really fast, and I settled for something that I can do on time and time again on the golf course. Take that to the driving range, really experience both ends and trap the middle and enjoy some good shots. So one of the drills that I love to do on the putting green, just to make sure that my club face is returning to the ball square, is I like to use, just on my Chrome Soft here, I've actually got these 3 lines, the triple track lines, and I'm going to use these as kind of a drill. And very simply what I'm going to do is I'm just going to aim at a target, and I'm going to point those lines literally directly at this target. Now, when I take my putt, and actually I'm going to do this when I'm going to hit quite a few putts doing this. If I start closing the club face down, what we're going to see is those lines are going to start wobbling and the ball's going to go off to the left. If I do the opposite and the club face is returning open, again, those lines are just going to start wobbling off to the right. So what I want to do is I've got a couple of balls, I'm just going to hit a few towards the target, and I just want to see, can I get these lines to just go end over end towards the hole? So let me just have a little go. Strike one just to the target. So I missed it on the right and I could really see the lines wobbling off to the right when I did that. So I know the club face didn't close down well enough, it was open through. So I'm going to do that again, line it straight up to a target, set up behind, and I'm just going to try now and close the club face down slightly, just so I can really see those lines going end over end. It's a really good way of using the triple track technology to help you putting. So what we're looking for here is finding neutral posture. Now, one of the things that we see with very good ball strikers is they have this really nice flat back that we call neutral posture, where we get this nice hip hinge and a nice flat back. Now, one of the things that we see with the higher handicappers is there's two types of postures, categories that we can kind of fall into. One is what we call C posture, which is kind of a lazy sort of position where the shoulders kind of drop down and we get this flat sort of C shape with our back. The other one is S, where actually the shoulders get pushed back quite a lot and we get this really big arc in our back, right? These two problems can really help and unfortunately hurts your striking abilities. But if we actually understand what they feel like, we can actually do something where we can find the middle ground and we can trap that middle feeling that we call neutral posture. So what I want you to try and do is with a club, literally put it on your shoulder line like this, and I want you to go into this S shape. I want you to actually hinge your hips and actually push your shoulders back and really experience this S kind of position. I then want you to go from here, I want you to go to C. So flatten your back, round your shoulders, and then very simply, I just want you to find the middle ground. I want you to find neutral. Now you can see I've got this really nice flat back and I'm able to rotate around my body so much smoother. If you're still struggling with that, another drill that I love is literally with your 7-iron, with a club, just stand nice and tall, and I want you to just put it just below your belt line, and I want you to have this feeling of actually just pushing the club back. So if I stand from this angle, it's nice and tall, club's out here, and I'm just gonna push with my hands back. So bum goes out, back stays straight. I'm just gonna let my hands dangle down and I'm just gonna flex my legs. Now I'm in a nice solid position to rotate around myself and hopefully hit some good shots. So let's give it a go. So if you're one of those golfers that really struggles to make a good strike, well, one of the things that could be happening is you're decelerating the club throughout the downswing. Now, one of the things that I see a lot of sort of higher handicappers do, they take the club so far back for such a short shot, the brain is very good at kind of making its own kind of calibration, and it kind of just goes, well, if I make a normal swing and I flush it, I'm just gonna nut it over the back. So what they do is they then naturally start to slow down. Unfortunately, what then happens is the club is then decelerating to the point of when it strikes. What really good chippers do is the complete opposite. The club is actually accelerating past the ball to the fastest point of the swing is just past the golf ball. So one of the really nice drills that I like to practice, I've just got 6 balls here at the green, and all I'm going to try and do is take a nicer kind of shorter backswing back. I'm going to feel like I'm accelerating through, and I'm going to do a slightly longer finish. So it's not going to be too far back, nice and short, longer finish through. The whole idea with this is the club is accelerating towards the target. Now, one of the problems that some people do when they try this for the first time is actually they go really too short and they sort of stab at it. I still want you to keep your nice tempo, your nice rhythm, let that club fall, but always make sure you're accelerating through to the target. So when we're looking at stance width, it's really important to understand what we're trying to achieve with this. For me, it's this whole understanding that I'm trying to produce two things. I'm trying to produce a nice stable base, and I'm trying to produce a body movement that helps me turn away from the target and turn towards. Now, there is a fine line between having too stable of a base, too wide of a stance that's going to affect my turn. So for me, the ideal sort of position, right, if I had a driver in my hand like I've got here, I want to make sure that this is the fastest club. This is the club that I'm trying to produce the most power with. So I need a really nice, stable base, a stable platform. So how I'm going to start this is I always start with my left foot first, and if I'm going to set up with this ball inside this left heel, I'm going to then feel like I'm shoulder width apart as a nice kind of baseline, and I'm then going to take one step back to give me a nice, big, stable base for me to produce a nice, powerful hit with. Now, when I take another club, like a 7-iron, I don't need as much balance. I'm not trying to hit it as hard. So all of a sudden, this stable base can come in. I can actually produce just, if I was shoulder width apart, let's just go slightly wider, just to give myself that nice kind of stability, because I still want to make sure I can hold balance. Now, when I get like a wedge in my hand like this, all of a sudden, we're talking about finesse, we're not talking about power, so I don't need that stable base. I just need to produce something that can keep me in balance, give myself a lot of control, and allow my body to rotate backwards and forwards and enjoy the shot that we're trying to produce. So there we have it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that video. I really hope it helps you with your consistency out on the golf course. If it's something that you liked, please give this video a like, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.